Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome. Today we are having a special chat and channel session dedicated to Princess Diana and how she can help us all understand the empathic wounded healer template. So if you are new here, welcome. My name is Danielle, #damsel at 𝑓𝑡𝑒𝑠𝑒𝑛�lightened edits of damseldesigns.com. I am a quantum energy channel, medium, healer, reader, and artist. And in these chat and channel sessions, my guides, or in some cases some of you, present me with a topic and we have a stream of consciousness channeling about it. And if you are so inclined, we can also have a chat in the comments. So as I said, part of today's channeling session is dedicated to Princess Diana. The day that I am releasing this is actually the 25th anniversary of her passing, but you do not have to be watching it on or near that date. You actually don't even have to be a fan of Princess Diana to benefit from this video. While part of it and its energy art are of course dedicated to her, we're going to be working with that energy for all of us to better understand something my guides and I have been calling the empathic wounded healer pattern and template. So that can apply to absolutely everyone at absolutely any time. So thank you so much for being here with me as we delve into that today. So first I would like to mention a little bit about me and my journey with an appreciation for Princess Diana. She passed when I was quite young in this life, but I remember having a connection with her pretty much instantaneously. I am someone who has, in addition to being a natural born medium and connecting with spirit all of my remembered life, I've also remembered many of my past lives and been what many consider or classify as being an old soul. And I identify as a starseed as well, which we'll get into a bit later. But with all of that being said, I have always been very connected to the spirit world. I have always considered myself an empath even before I understood the names or labels for these things. I was very much living in this way. And so I remember when she passed away, it was the last day or two of summer break where I am from here in America, and I remember that it was quite late at night, and it was one of my last nights to be able to stay up late, and I requested that my mother play video games with me, Nintendo 64, to those of you who remember that, Mario Kart, the original. And I was playing this, and suddenly I remember saying, I need a break. I have to turn this off and for a few minutes. And my mom was like, okay, sure, I'll go get a drink. And I remember she left the room and I turned the TV. In those days, you had to switch channels. So you had to switch from the channel that was playing or plugged into the video games back to the regular TV. And I switched it back to the regular TV just as a news report was reporting of the crash. At that time, it was not reporting Princess Diana's passing, it was just the crash. And I felt it instantly, although before that, I do not remember much of my attention going to her. I remember being enthralled by some footage of her with children at hospitals and parades and things, but not very much. I didn't watch very much of the news at that age to see that anyway. And then during this news report, seeing her reported crash, I felt that it was a passing at that point, but they were not reporting it as such. I was just instantly connected. And I was probably 8 years old. So there's not really much that an 8-year-old is going to understand at that point, old soul or not. But I just remember feeling instantly sad and feeling this injustice, and all of a sudden feeling this sadness for children. At that point, I don't even think I was really very cognizant of her boys. And then in the coming days, with all of the news coverage and the sea of flowers and the mourning, the real mourning throughout the world, and then her funeral. They must have done her funeral on a weekend. I haven't double checked, but from what I remember, I was definitely home. So if it was not a weekend day, I said that I didn't feel well and I stayed home from school. And I was watching the funeral. I remember asking for balloons to write a prayer on and send up for her. I was very, very affected. And then I started feeling this loving, nurturing presence. And it felt to me in the same vibrational range as the visitations that I have had my whole life with Mother Mary. And so that was an extreme honor for me. And I just had this instant recognition of her. And later, in my later years, not until my 20s actually, when I started accepting my starseed self and my starseed roots and connections, did I understand, how much of that was also because of stemming from the same star system, in at least one or two instances, which is why this energy artwork that you see here as the basis for the video, I call Diana Syrian Starseed, or Diana Syrian Star, and it has this mystical blue light star there because her energy to me is very much this beautiful color blue, sometimes the peaches as well, both very high vibrational colors. And this is a blue that I also very much resonate with the Star of Sirius, but also with Mother Mary, with the goddess Isis, with the goddess Kali, with so many of the goddesses, including at times the goddess Diana, although in my experience with the goddess Diana, she also likes her reds and her deep, strong colors like that as well. But so, yeah, at this young age, I didn't have any connection consciously to my starseed self, or any understanding of what that was. But I believe that's why, one of the reasons why I remade such a strong connection with her spirit, and also because she was someone that very much considered herself, I don't know if she used that terminology, but she considered herself connected with something beyond herself. She had a lot of friends who were psychic mediums or astrologers, or at that time I don't even know if people were calling it Reiki, but hands-on healers. It's pretty well documented that she visited psychics on a regular basis. She visited astrologers, numerologists, healers. She really connected with them in trying to understand herself and these connections and these things that she was seeing and feeling. I don't believe that she felt comfortable channeling her own gift to really share information, but she was very comfortable going to as many people as she could to understand it. And in my opinion, she is very much a healer. She is very much what we now consider to be a light worker, and I would consider to be a hands-on healer. If she was not the worldwide phenomenon and princess that she became and signed up for in this life, I could see her having a hands-on healing practice. And of course she chose to take that to an even higher level, which is why she chose to be the first ones, in my opinion, it's why she chose to be the first one in the royal family to take the gloves off, to touch people. That touch, that physical empathness was so important to her. It's why people enjoyed her presence so much and felt healed or exuberant in her presence, even just exuberant or healed in the inspiration of seeing her in the act of giving or shining light on others. Now, I also do want to talk about, when we get into the wounded empath part, about how some of that does stem from trauma. But I first do want to shine light on these gifts. And I believe that she formed such a strong connection with me, and I have heard with other children and other psychics throughout the world, because of the fact that she was already, while she was alive, vibrating on that plane of resonance, of understanding, of belief in these gifts and in their abilities. And I think because I was a child at the time as well, it pulled at her heartstrings a little bit more. And she was someone who always watched over children. Many of her charities were children or child centered or focused. And yeah, we've maintained connection. It's something that I hold very sacred and dear. I don't really do public channelings of her, mostly because I feel that's crossing a line. She has living family, she has living children and grandchildren. I know someone who, as an acquaintance, who has done channelings of her, and I highly respect and believe that to be true. However, that's not something that I feel comfortable doing. I don't feel comfortable speaking without full consent of a soul, whether that soul is alive or dead. And although I'm sure she would probably give it to me if I asked, it's not something that I have asked because I don't want to place myself in that role of speaking for her. However, I am very comfortable in the role of speaking about my love for her, and I have asked her permission to create this artwork and create this dialogue and all of this energy sharing, and I do feel a strong yes on that, although she is someone who is shy and humble, and so the talking her up she can get a little bit uncomfortable with, but I want to do that because I consider her a friend. And I was so pleased to have been sort of taken under her wing, to have been one of the chosen few, although I'm sure there are many more throughout the world, who she chose to see and recognize some of the connections that we had, dealing with the same beings, or our souls stemming from some of the same places, or having some of the same gifts or troubles, and saying, hey, I see you. And she did see me, and she allowed me to see her. And throughout the years, I've had wonderful visitations and signs from her, and especially as I've accepted more of myself and my starseed roots and my empathic gifts and my energy healing gifts, she's really been kind in showing herself to me and showing me how she used her gifts, whether she had the understanding of them at that point or not, and in showing me some things that are not so great, that she went through, that I choose not to share with the world, at least at this time. Although if you are a starseed and you know some of the controversies in the starseed community or entities community surrounding the royal family, you can probably guess. But I don't want to invite any of that energy in today, because today is very much about the celebration of her, the honoring of her, the understanding of her as an empath and an energy healer, in my opinion and experience. And I would never want to do or say anything that would step on the toes or the hearts of her boys, or her grandchildren, or her daughters-in-law, or anything like that, which is why please do not spread any hate in the comment section about them at all. That will not be tolerated. But I don't think that they would mind someone sharing love for their mother and sharing the fact that that I believe their mother to be someone who was not only an inspiration in her humanitarianism, but in her spiritual gifts as well, that I choose to see and share and talk about. And so as that little girl, I connected with her, and throughout the years we've grown this relationship. She's also been very kind in sharing with me about her struggles, and the fact that, it's very well known. I'm not going to talk about anything she didn't talk about, which is that she had an eating disorder, or probably it would be classed as several eating disorders because of the ways that it manifested itself. As someone who has had trauma-induced eating disordered difficulties, I have been able to resonate with that and come to the understanding of how much of that disorder, or that level of control or self-betrayal really comes out in us because of the things that we experience either in our childhoods or around us at the time. And when life feels so out of control, we seek to control anything that we can. And if we have a lot of domineering or abusive personalities around us, which is something that she shared that she had, which is something that I definitely had, we can seek to control at least the parts of our body that we can control, right? And so that, in my experience, is an energetic reason and a psychological reason of why things like eating disorders can manifest, even in people who are very, very intelligent, who are very empathic, and who care deeply about others. You can find it difficult to continue that level of self-care about yourself because there's part of your psyche that flips a switch and says, well, if I can't control those things, at least I can control this thing. And so that's why eating disorders can be such a tangled web to unravel from and heal yourself from. And I know that she was committed to doing that work most of her life, and it was exacerbated by the fact that she was in the public eye. She was, at the time at least, the most photographed woman in the world, and so that's a lot of scrutiny to be under and a lot of eyes on you and a lot of energy on you as you are trying to form a new and healthier self-concept around your body and control of yourself, especially when so much of that attention is out of your control. So if you are struggling or have ever struggled with an eating disorder as a spiritual person or not, I hope that that level of perspective brings some peace and comfort to you and some catalyst or inspiration to you in whatever level of healing you are currently in, or whatever next steps of healing come forward for you. That is not something that I specialize in, by the way, with my energy healing work. It's not something at this time I feel comfortable specializing in. However, I do like to help people get to the roots of their issues, and so there are other facets that we could perhaps work on if you're called to work together. But I just want to put that disclaimer out there. Please, especially since that disorder involves so much physicality as well, please get the advice and treatment of a licensed medical care professional as well, along with any spiritual or mental health help that you get, because I have seen people get very ill or pass away because of neglecting the physicality of that healing as well, or being monitored physically and in the organs and other things that can be going on in the body at that time. So I just would like to encourage people to get proper treatment and full cycle wholeness treatment for any struggle such as that. But yeah, so I also want to mention the fact for some of you that I perceive Diana to also have been someone going through the twin flame journey in that lifetime. And if you look at her sharings of her relationship with 𝓇𝓹𓋓�, I believe you will see a lot of parallels to the twin flame journey. Now, the twin flame journey is not something I'm going to get very deep into here because my position has very much evolved on that, and I see it very much as a journey of templates and in a little bit of different perspective than other people, and I like to help people heal through that template so that it's not all about the relationship with the other person, because that focus of the relationship with the other person can lead one, in my experience, to a very imbalanced life and a lot of sadness and turmoil. And if you look at some of the photos of Diana when she went to visit 𝓇𝓹𝓋̶ and view the heart surgery and dressed up in the traditional garb, I believe you will see that energy there of that turmoil that then becomes the catalyst for so many other wonderful things in life. But while you're going through it, it is very heavy-hearted. And I wanted to share that as well because Diana hits so many of the marks and checks so many of the boxes for a spiritual person, for a light worker, for this journey that so many of us can resonate with, right? So many of us can find ourselves under the label of twin flame, of empath, as someone who struggled with perhaps trauma or self-sabotaging behavior, while we are also people who strive to bless and help and bring light and love and healing to others and to the world. And so that's where we get to this idea of the empathic wounded healer, right? Because she very much fits that role for me. I am someone who has fit that role. I am working on the higher levels of my healing to come out of that woundedness of it, or that imbalance of the woundedness of it. However, it's no shame for me to admit that at this point in my journey, because we are still helping people. Yes, we're going through things, but we always allow the things that we're going through, or the illnesses or the sicknesses or the hardships that we have been through or that we are going through, to teach us and inform us and help us heal or integrate the shadow, right? And that's a different process for everyone. How long someone struggles, or how long someone is ill, or how many things come up in that lifetime, that's going to be different for every single person, because of what we signed up for in this lifetime, because of our karma, because of our soul contracts. All of those are very individualized things. However, there are so many people who are perhaps the most enlightened, the most loving, the most gifted people on this planet, who have personal difficulties while simultaneously always using them to shine light on or inform, help for others or for the world. And that is an admirable trait. It's an admirable quality. But I do want to illustrate how some of it can stem from our trauma. Some of it can be catalyzed by the fact that we were abused, or that we weren't helped, or that we weren't loved, or that we were abandoned. And those things can, of course, be from past lives. But in my experience, and I've said this before in other chat and channels, in my experience, every trauma or issue that you go through in a past life has some sort of projection on your childhood in this life, and on the inner child wounds that develop. So if we look at Diana's childhood, we can see how she had struggles with her mother, and with her mother abandoning her, and with difficulties with the father raising them, and the stepmother, and all of these things that she personally shared before. And I encourage you, go look up her full story, read Diana in her words, look at the wonderful documentary where they used her words and her videotapes and her trainings on herself to share her story. I do believe that there's too much out there actually about her, although I have viewed a lot of it. I think it's really enough now, and I understand that people love to reinvigorate their love for her by sharing, but I think we could find other ways of doing that rather than needing to constantly retell the story. I think she's told enough of it, and I would love for us as a society to find more creative ways of doing that, rather than continuously re-invoking the story in salacious type of ways. But the material that came out in the 90s, and that came out not long after her passing, I find that the ones that really focused on her sharing her own words, and of course the ones that were sanctioned by her boys, there's a lot of love there, and there's a lot of information that you can find there about how she shared about her struggles, how she shared about her childhood, about intuition that she had, right? So the famous Martin Bashir interview, she told her truth, and she shared that she didn't ever see herself in that role as queen. She felt something negative looming. She felt the other side, right? Not wanting her in that role, and very much using her for other purposes, which are stories that we could get into, but I prefer not to. And yes, there was a little bit of woundedness, and in my opinion, some manipulation with how she told that story, because of her very much still being in the wounded aspect of it at the time, which we really can't blame her for, in my opinion. I believe that if she were given the chance to continue life and continue healing and continue growth, she would have been telling that story in a different way. But we have to remember how raw and fresh the experience was for her at the time. So I understand the critics of that interview, and I do very much understand her family's position about if she was being taken advantage of at the time, which is a possibility. But I also see from the higher perspective how her soul consented to that experience so that there would at least be something out there with her words and her opinions on it. And of course, those are now some of the most famous sound bites of her because of that sharing. So at least we have that. And if you look back at people's lives who have passed, you will see, especially those who had this feeling that they were going to pass, how their soul set up things like that not long before their passings in order to share some aspect of their truth in their own words. So like, people even like Carrie Fisher did this by sharing her Princess Diarist book before her passing. So people's souls generally, even if they're passing young, or what people like to say is before their time, have an idea and can set and lay the groundwork for a just in case scenario, if that brings comfort to anyone. And she very much did know that there was this threat upon her life. She wrote a letter that said, you know, if I'm found dead in my car, she had that intuition on her own, and she shared that with some psychic friends as well, who I believe confirmed it. And that sort of thing happened very often. You know, JFK said something similar before his assassination. Martin Luther King said something similar before his assassination. Abraham Lincoln had his famous dream that he shared of viewing the president's body in the White House, you know, was his dream. So, and I'm sharing assassination stories for a reason, although I am not one that wants to talk about any of the conspiracy theory aspects of it. I will just say that words are chosen very carefully, especially in a channeling session. Although those are things that at this point, 25 years on, are not as relevant anymore, because the most important thing to her is that enough of her truth is out there, and that her boys are safe, and that her grandchildren are safe. And that is something that she very much has power over from the other side. And the rest of it is truth that will reveal itself in time, has already started to reveal itself, and will continue to reveal itself to people who are ready to receive it, and most importantly, will do something good with it rather than just be salacious about sharing gossip or conspiracy or possibilities that may not even be of relevance anymore. So that is what I will say on that. But yeah, if you look at her story, you can see how she very much had trauma throughout her life, right? She had trauma, she had impositions, she had people using her and abusing her. And while I do not want to paint her as a victim, and I'm very much about not painting ourselves as a victim, I do want to show the parallels between the things we go through and how for some people, especially those who are or become empaths or light workers, you know, we use that to catalyze our caring for other people, and what wasn't done for us, the care and love and respect and honor and healing and support that wasn't given freely and readily to us, we tend to learn how to give to other people before ourselves, and we tend to place a lot of importance upon that, on helping or healing or supporting or acknowledging other people, and it becomes really paramount and important to acknowledge the other. And while yes, that can be a part of our mission as light workers, as empaths, as starseeds, it can also be something that we need to learn how to do in a non-wounded way, because if we are only helping because of how much we weren't helped, after a while, the imbalance upon the sicknesses that we then accumulate, or the negatives that we continue to go through, that we continue to ignore because we don't turn any of that ability or enough of that ability back on us as well for our own healing, that imbalance can become very exaggerated, and then it can impede upon the work, impede upon the life mission, impede upon the energy that we actually have to help others in the way we want to help them, or in the belief that we have that we are actually helping. And so I want to put that out there because I know many, many more people throughout the past couple of years especially have been awakening, have been embracing their gifts, and in looking for ways to use them to help others throughout the world. But I want to caution you from Diana's story, but also from my own, because this has been something that I have done. I want us to be committed to finding the healthier ways to do that, the healthier and more balanced ways to do that, and share that energy or that information or that healing where we also have boundaries and are honoring ourselves and our own energy extended in some way as well, where we are also using our abilities to heal ourselves, our own shadow trauma and wounding, or seeking support from others to do so, and investing as much in ourselves as we are willing to invest in others. And that, I believe, is when we have the most impact in healing the world, and when we don't have to go through something like an early passing because of burning out our bodies or not being able to protect our bodies from outside or inside forces that may take it out at too early of an age. As someone who has burned out my body, I will tell you it is not fun, and we often feel regret about looking back and seeing how we could have made even more of an impact if we had taking care of ourselves in the process as well, and not considered that selfish. And so much of our upbringing as empaths can make it feel selfish to implement any form of self-care, because quite honestly, many of us as empaths are not only born, but we are also made by the fact that we tend to be born into families who are not as energetically mature as us, and who don't have an understanding of energy boundaries or any kind of boundaries or respect. And so we mire in this aspect of attuning to the negative or attuning to other people's emotions or feelings, because our parents or caregivers tend not to handle their own energies or feelings, and then we automatically pick up on it. And so learning as an empath how to have better energy boundaries and how to not make yourself responsible for other people's stuff can lead to a much healthier life for you, and it can also give you a greater impact in how you help others, because when you can help someone while not feeling responsible for their emotion, you can have a much greater reach and perspective, because you don't have to be mired in the feeling of it while you are helping them with it or in it. And also, those people will feel helped in a more empowered way, because they will be learning how to be responsible for their own energy as well, while also being supported in it. So if energy boundaries have been difficult for you, if they've been something that you've struggled with, no pressure, but I have created an instant access video masterclass, Empaths and Energy, where we go into how empaths are both born and made. We go into the dark empaths and narcissistic people that we can tend to attract. And there's a light code activation in there as well to deflect unwanted energy, as well as a Socratic questioning technique to deal with anxiety. So I highly recommend that if you are someone who is resonating with this and would like to work with me in that capacity, you can do so through that video masterclass at any time. But I wanted to share that so that whatever ways you find are the healthiest ways to care for your energy, please be encouraged to do so. And while we can look back, and some people have judged Diana in saying that she helped people for attention, I don't see it that way. I very much see the drive in her and that urgency in her and that need to help that I had in myself. And I know that I personally did not want the attention. I never wanted the attention. I still kind of struggle with having the attention on me and want it on the work instead. And I see that in the ways that she illustrated her shyness, right? I do not believe that she did it solely for the attention. Maybe there's a wounded little girl in there that wanted the attention of her parents, and was trying to do good to get some positive attention, sure, but I do not see that as her motivation, as her driving force, as her intention. I very much see it as she did not know or understand how to heal the hurt within herself, but that hurt showed her how to see the hurt in others and in the world, and her soul, which I believe was a starseed soul, showed her how to see the injustice in the world. And with that vision, whether she understood those as psychic visions or abilities or not, with that vision and ability, she used that drive of her hurt plus that vision to say, yeah, I may not know how to help myself right now, but I can see how to help others, and I'm going to do that. And eventually she did start to get more help. Like I said, she had friends of astrologers and healers, and I'm sure some of those people took advantage, which I hate in my community. I hate that some of my community has been known to do that. But she also got help with eating disorders and from doctors, and although it wasn't perfect, I am thankful that she did reach out for help. I'm so thankful that she shared her journey with us and the world, and in integrity shared her story, which is still an example. Those speeches she gave about her own struggles are still an example to people having those struggles, which is a blessing that will never end. And she did help more people than almost anyone of her time, and she still helps people by her example, by the foundations and the charities she built, no matter how short they were cut, because of her life being ended. I believe she checked off the majority of her list of what she came here to do. I wish she would have had more time where she could have also done and seen and experienced more for herself and for and with her boys. But in the example that she gave to them, I see the legacy of help continuing. And you can say what you will about the royal family. You can say what you will about their father's influence and that bloodline's influence over them. However, love always has more influence than anything. And her love was pure, her love was strong. And while they have their own traumas to go through and to learn through, they are helping people, and their version of the royal family is helping more people than many, many, many previous royal families. So we are stepping in the right direction. Sometimes we sidestep, but in my opinion, that motherly love and positive influence has helped and continues to help a great many people. And I know that in saying that, I'm even feeling the Mother Mary presence, and I know that Diana works with her as I do, and that love that is there for children of the world and all of our inner children, and for empaths and all of those who are very highly sensitive and who tend to go to that wounded healer aspect of taking it out on ourselves because of our empath overwhelm or sensitivity overwhelm. I just wanted to share this story with you today so that you see that you're not the only one struggling. There are very high profile people who have struggled with this. There are people who do this as a profession like myself who have struggled with this. So if you're struggling with these things while also being a good, kind-hearted person who just really wants to be of help, I see you, I acknowledge you. I'm sure Diana is seeing you and sending you love. And please keep going forward and commit to your own healing and into finding as much enthusiasm and passion for your own healing as you have for others that you've helped throughout your life, or that you have the goal to want to help throughout your life. Because in my opinion, that's the way that the healing and the help gets to sustain itself and carry forward, when it's done with balance and with that pure intention of love. And we can really only have that pure intention of love when we also commit to the ability and the journey of learning to love and appreciate ourselves more. So With all of that, which was quite an exasperating thing to share, and thank you so much for sticking with me, I will also share that the energy artwork that you see here in the background, I do have available as a free digital download. You can access that through the links that will be in the video description or the podcast caption or comment section, depending on what platform you're viewing this on. That is also available through the direct link of www.𝑓𝑒𝑚sel.designs.com/products/Princess Diana. It is free, but you have to go through the free checkout process. And once you do that, you will get a free digital download of the PNG picture image file. This is an energy activated mandala piece of artwork with LightCodes. And so there's more information on that product page in ways that you can use this to meditate with as a point of focal meditation. There are also ways that you can use this piece to energy send and receive. Please know that that can only be done with light and positive intention and with people who give consent. This all has been energy blessed and protected so that no negative energy can be utilized with the piece. But I would love for more of you to have it and to work with it if you are called to Princess Diana at all, if you're called to her honoring. I don't only honor her on her passing day, I also honor her on her birthday and Mother's Day and so many of the days, and just whenever she's kind enough to pay a visit. But you can work with her through this piece whenever you feel called, with her consent as well. Please don't be summoning people's spirits if it doesn't feel right to do so. Even if you don't feel comfortable working with her energy, if you're called to work with this piece, you can still do so, and you can sanction and assign it to work with as a wounded healer or an empath healing piece or a Mother Mary type energy, that light-hearted piece. If you are a starseed, particularly if you resonate with the star system of Sirius, this may also be helpful for you. But really for anyone who resonates with meditation or energy work in any capacity, these pieces are third eye and heart activating and chakra activating, and there's really no limit to the ways you can use them. People also like to use them as crystal grids or as pieces on the altar, so you can print it out or you can use it digitally. Again, that is totally free. However, there is a section there if you would like to leave a tip in energy exchange. That's very much appreciated. You'll see that during checkout, or there is always a link in the description or on the website somewhere to share a donation with me if that piece or this work or any of the other public works or channels that I choose to share have helped and resonated with you. And again, no pressure, but if you feel called and drawn and able, you can do that. All amounts are appreciated. That direct link is paypal.me/𝑓𝑒𝑚sel, and everything adds up in appreciation for support of my public channels and this energy that I share. And I really appreciate all of those of you who do that or who share this work with others who may do that or benefit from the work. So while you only have permission for personal and private use for that piece if you download it, I would love it if you shared the link to the piece or the link to this podcast if you know of others who can find it helpful. And if you have any thoughts or questions or comments, feel free to take part in the chat portion of this chat and channel. I would love to answer any questions I can for you there in the comment section and interact with you more. And if you feel called to work with me in a spiritual capacity, know that you can do so through my website, 𝑓𝑒𝑚sel.designs.com. There are quantum sessions and Akashic Records readings and sessions on there, in addition to the artwork that you will find of Princess Diana. I have my spiritual offerings and sessions on there as well, along with enlightened merch and more. If you are called to taking this to another level, you can also use the contact for consult link that you will find in the description to see if we are a good fit during a consult in building you a custom quantum energy healing or consciousness coaching package. I have select spots of that available for people that want to work together in that way. And of course, the Empaths and Energy Instant Access Masterclass is available on my website as well. And with all of that being said, I am going to close out this chat and channel session for today. Be sure to also check the link for the chat and channel playlist to listen to other chat and channel sessions. Recently, we've been diving into the empath narcissist polarity. During an upcoming chat and channel session, we're going to be talking about the gateway emotions of anger and sadness. We go into so many empathic and spiritual topics, and feel free to suggest one as well in the comments if there is something you would like me to channel about, and I would love to see you next time. With that, I'm going to sign off with love, light, and light codes. Love, Danielle, #Damsel, at 𝑓 of damseldesigns.com. Bye for now. Be blessed.